Hi everyone, welcome to the Movie Reception Show. My name is Fariba, and this morning we actually got the first trailer for the upcoming Boys spin-off, Vought Rising. Now, if you are somebody who actually saw the final episode back on Tuesday night, I believe, then you probably have already seen this trailer. I know there was actually a huge leak of this. I personally decided not to look at it because I figured it might be actually best to see when the official one dropped by by Prime Video, and it turned out to be, the wait didn't turn out to be that long because now it's out today. It came out this morning, and we're getting our first taste of what this prequel series is going to be. Now, of course, if you're not aware of what the show is going to be about, this is actually a prequel to the original show. This is taking place around, I believe, the 1950s. And it's going to be led by Jensen Ackles, who plays Soldier Boy, and Aya Cash, who actually played Stormfront in seasons 2 and 3. She's known as Clara. That's somebody that Homelander and Soldier Boy kept talking about a lot in season 5. And so, yeah, we're actually seeing basically one of the first teams created by Vought, the corporation, of course, that created all these soups. And I know a lot of people are very mixed about seeing the series because, first off, given the subject matter of the boys and some of the characters that we've been introduced, especially Stormfront, I know a lot of people are very hesitant or very uncomfortable with this series because just imagine just the kind of backlash or controversial topics that will be discussed in this series. I mean, I'm sure some of these people are going to be a lot more conservative about their mindset about certain things in the world, but I'm going to keep my mind open because first off, it is The Boys. The Boys was a pretty good series for the most part, even though season 5 wasn't the most thoroughly written series. But even that being the case, I think one of the big reasons why I'm like excited, or I wouldn't say excited, but I am open to seeing this show is because of Jensen Ackles. Of course, again, if you guys don't know, I keep talking about this a lot. I'm a huge Jensen Ackles fan. I've watched Supernatural for a long time, and seeing him, appear in The Boys was honestly one of the most exciting things in my life. And that's just not now, given the fact that he's now able to lead a series again, that's of course given the fact that Countdown had canceled, sometime last year. Big Sky also canceled a couple years ago. I mean, I didn't actually watch those shows because they weren't really my cup of tea, but this is something that I actually am on board to watch, only because, again, it is a superior series, and I guess you can say it's a little bit of a meta way of how things worked out because, again, if you're not aware of Jensen Ackles' history, or at least the myths that have been spreading around, apparently he was in consideration for Captain America back when Marvel was, developing that project to kind of then create the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. Of course, that will end up being played by Chris Evans, but before then, Jensen Ackles was apparently in a short list of that. Of course, he was also for some, again, considered for Hawkeye. But of course, a lot of people were very excited when he was playing kind of a counterpart to Captain America in The Boys. And now we're seeing him now lead his own series, which is very exciting. And so, yeah, I'm not going to delay it any longer. I know I kind of rambled up a lot. But yeah, let's watch the first trailer for Vought Rising.
If you're working on something, maybe I could help. I want to fight for the flag. I want to be
Okay, well, there's Bomb Sight.
a hero.
Clara.
God blessed us with these extraordinary heroes.
Things happening every day. Every day.
Future. All we need to do is take it.
Oh, she has a German accent. Oh my god. Okay, it's 2027. So
right.
that was the first trailer for Vought Rising. I'm not gonna lie, that's a pretty gnarly trailer. I mean, it does give off a lot of those like Western kind of noir vibes that we got from like back in those days, but also again incorporating the whole superhero aspect of it. So it does look like a very interesting series. Of course, I think what's probably I'm gonna need to fix this mic. I just bought a new mic. But what's probably gonna be I'm sure this is gonna be something a lot of people are gonna feel about. I know I'm kind of feeling a little bit hesitant and a little is the fact that, you know, Stormfront is gonna be one of the lead characters. And of course, again, if not a lot of you remember, she is basically a Nazi. And she makes those things very clear. And so I am a little bit on the fence about that, just because it's like we know she's gonna be one of the key characters, but at the same time, I believe she's the one who ends up marrying Vought, if I'm correct. This is something that I believe was documented in the file, but yeah, she's the one who I believe is married to Vought, which then creates the whole Vought Corporation, and of course what eventually then sets the whole beginnings of Vaught's rise to the occasion. Of course, Vought Rising, as the name of the show is called. And yeah, I think that's the only thing I'm a little bit concerned about. I'm not gonna lie, it's like, okay, how they're gonna handle that topic without scaring away a lot of viewers. And I think that's gonna be the biggest challenge going into the series, that how are they gonna make it a series that is gives at least some kind of appetite for viewers, especially when you're considering some of the social things that they're going to have to address. And I know a lot of people were addressing this, especially with some of the leaks that came out at the time, is the fact that there were black soups. They were testing on a lot of black people about this. And it's like the first thing I'm sure was coming to a lot of people's mind was like the Tuskegee experiments, and all those sort of stuff. And if you don't know what those are, that's like a very controversial event that took place where people were experimenting on black people without really giving discussion of what's going on. Again, it goes into the whole ethical situation, and again, if you're someone who has done a lot of science-based classes or has taken psychology or even, you know, ended up studying those as part of like your degree, that you know a lot about the Tuskegee study, because that's a very controversial topic, and it's one of the reasons why we have all these ethical practices in place when it comes to scientific methods, because of how things turned out back in history, where it's like they had to really evaluate those things. And so the fact that we do see some black soups, I know that's going to raise a lot of alarm. It's like, okay, how do they handle that, especially when you have someone like Stormfront, or in this case Clara or Lady Liberty, where they are known to be white supremacists, and it's like, how can you address that? I mean, and I'm sure these are gonna be words I'm gonna be saying a lot when the show comes out next year, which of course again it states on there that's gonna come out in 2027, doesn't give an exact date or anything like that, but it is coming out next year. I don't think we're gonna get anything else The Boys related the rest of this year, because Gen V season 3 has been canceled, and there wasn't really anything else that's been greenlit, although The Boys Mexico is still going. That's all we know. It's still going after so long. But yeah. But I'm very intrigued to see how they're going to handle some of the things here, because again, it is very delicate subject that they're going to have to go through, especially with how the time was back then, and then having to integrate the whole superhero aspect to it. But it does seem very interesting. I mean, we are seeing the beginnings of Soldier Boy's life. I mean, we know for a fact that season 5 planted a lot of those seeds where we're kind of getting a taste of what Vought was, and, you know, elements of Vought Rising. So we already got to see Bombsight back in season 5, how he fell in love with Golan, was it Ginsha? Yeah, what a very typical name. And I'm sure we're probably gonna have a version of her in the series. I don't know if we actually saw her in the trailer. Now I'm thinking about it, but I know we saw a couple other characters. I'm very intrigued to see what the others are. I mean, again, this is essentially the sense of Vaught's first ever Soups team. I don't know if they're gonna call them by the 7. If I recall, they were called like the Payoff, if I have that correct. I know there was like a team called Payoff at one point, and I'm pretty sure that was associated with Stormfront and Soldier Boy, so I'm assuming that's gonna be the case. Of course, when we are discussing this in terms of comics, like, again, if you're not aware, Stormfront was actually a male soup in the comics, and then they decided to gender swap him to a her in the series, and so that's where we are at with this. So there is definitely going to be some clear differences from the comics, simply for the fact that they already switched off the character from being a male Soup to a female Soup. But aside from that, I'm pretty sure there's still going to be elements of that character from the comics, and now it's just a matter of seeing how they're going to try and tweak that into a series like this, where it is again called Vault Rising, showing the prequel, showing the rise of the corporation that is then going to start plaguing the world. But yeah, I am intrigued. I think so far it's a really good start. I mean, again, this is just a teaser, so you have to remember that with teasers, like, it may not necessarily always give you the strongest impressions. Like, I mean, when I'm watching that's like, okay, this looks like a pretty interesting thing, but I wouldn't say it really wowed me. But again, this is just a teaser trailer, because the whole sense of the teaser trailer is like supposed to give you just a first essence of what the series is going to be, what it's going to show, what you're expecting to see out of it. Usually it's not until the second the actual official trailer comes, or at least the second trailer, that we actually get a little bit more of an insight into what the narrative is going to be about, or what's going to be a little bit more deep about the actual series. So, but it looks like a really decent showing about what the show is going to be about. Again, a lot of people had already seen this back on Tuesday night, when if they had attended the actual movie or the screening of the final episode. This is my first time seeing it, as I said, but yeah, I think that's really all I can really discuss. Again, it's just really just quick snippets of giving us a sense of who the characters are, who we're meeting, and what kind of world that we're seeing, especially in a sense of how superhero world was like in the 1950s. But I want to know your thoughts now, having seen this first trailer. Again, we see some familiar characters like Soldier Boy, Bombsai, Clara, but we also see some new characters. So I don't know your thoughts having now seen this teaser. Like, again, I know a lot of people are very divisive about the series finale of the boys, but even that being the case, are you still going to tune into something like Vault Rising? Is this something that you'd be interested in? Were you somebody who actually was intrigued by Soldier Boy's story and very excited to see this actually being expanded with a prequel like Vought Rising? What are your thoughts about the fact that we do see Stormfront / Clara coming back? I know that's something that's really kind of putting a lot of people on the fence of seeing the series, yet is that something you're able to overlook? At the same time, like, there are going to be some key comic differences, so what do you expect in terms of this series, especially if you're somebody, who is familiar with the comics, and yet we're seeing this content? And what are your hopes in terms of, like, what you expect from this series? Let me know your thoughts below, and make sure to like and subscribe.